This video is about finding the volume of a prism. All right, so remember, first of all, volume is like the amount of space inside of an object. The way I always like to think about volume is I think about the amount of water or the amount of sand that could fit inside of an object. All right, so as we're going to find these volumes this week, one of the things we need to focus on is what's the formula? So for this first one, it's going to be big BH. Remember what big B stands for? It's still the same thing. It's the area of the base. And then H stands for the height of the prism. So remember, whenever we're dealing with a prism, the first thing that we want to be able to identify is we want to identify where the base is. Who is the base? So keep in mind with a prism, the bases can be any shape. They can be a triangle, a quadrilateral. They could be a pentagon, a hexagon, whatever. All right? But the sides of a prism always have to be rectangles. Okay? So let's jump right in here and figure these out. All right, so find the volume. The first thing I want to do is I want to identify one of the sides as my base. And I'm going to use this bottom of the box here as my base. All right, I notice that that base is made up by these two measurements, which tells me that the base is a square. All right, I know that to find the area of a square, I take side times side, or I would get an area of the base of 25. I know that if I'm calling that the base, then directly above it would be the other base. And how I move from that base to the top base, the bottom base to the top base, is I'm going to use this measurement 10, and that's going to identify my height. I now have all the information I need. I write down the formula. V equals big BH. I know that big B is 25. I know that H is 10, which tells me I have a volume of 250. But now I need to include the units. My units are going to be the same unit, but because we're multiplying three measurements together, or to find the volume, the units are always going to be cubic units. So make sure that you use that cubic unit sign whenever you're talking about volume. So let's take a look at this next one. All right. I'm looking at the picture, and to find the volume of this, I'm going to assume that this is my base down here. Now that base is a rectangle. I know that the area of a rectangle is length times width. Well, I know it's got a length of 9, and its width would be one of these sides. So maybe this side down here, or this side kind of back there. And I don't know that measurement. But I do know that the bottom and the top, for how I'm looking at this, the measurements have to be the same. Remember, both the top and the bottom have to be congruent figures. So I know that that 6 is the same as that side right there. So this gives me an area of the base of 54. 9 times 6 is 54. I know to go from one base to the other, I'm going to use this 11, so my height is 11. I then write down the formula, V equals big BH. I know that big B is 54. I know that H is 11. And now I'm going to use my handy-dandy calculator to help me out. 54 times 11, which would be 594. And the units are going to be cubic meters, or meters cubed. All right, let's try one more here. Let's see how we do. In this figure, I know that the triangles have to be the base, because I know it's a prism, and the other sides of the prism have to be, the sides of a prism have to be rectangles. So I'm going to say that this triangle right here is my base. And if you notice, I got the same triangle right above it. To find the area of, or big B here, the area of a triangle, I'm going to take base times height divided by 2. Now the problem is this. What measurement is the base? What measurement is the height? One thing I'm going to do is take that 3, drop it down to that side. Take that 4, drop it down to this side. And I can do that because I know the bottom and the top have to be congruent. All right? I know that base and height of a right triangle are always going to be the two pieces connected by the right angle. So this would be 3 times 4 divided by 2, or a base area of 6. Now, how do I go from the triangle on the bottom to the triangle on the top? That's my height. My height in this particular problem is 7. To find the volume, I'm going to go big BH. Big B is 6, H is 7. So my volume is 42. Don't forget to label it. This would be cubic feet because I am finding volume. Hopefully this helps. Let me know if you have any questions.